Well, when you've got the shanks, Ben, you don't really want anyone else seeing them.
Just what you want. From those who are closest to you, everyone telling you you look like crap. It just warms the cockles of your heart,
The
doesn't it?
experience was unbelievable. The golf was even better. Ben, I'm sorry you weren't there. Well, I'm not sorry at all.
Yeah. She's done me yet again. I thought I had her covered there, and she's absolutely stitched me. It was exactly the type of performance you expect of someone who's won a national championship.
I incredibly admire the man. He's cast a long shadow that I think I'm going to be forever chasing.
Hello everyone, thanks for your company on Hooked on Sport. What an incredible week it has been in golf once again. And each week I have the privilege of breaking it down with Sophie Hooky and all of her expertise and insight. Sophie, hello, and a championship trophy has been lifted.
Oh, so exciting. Ryan Fox. What an absolute legend of a winner. I don't think there's remotely a single person out there who's not excited to see Ryan Fox and that final putt go in.
I don't know that I was talking about Ryan Fox. I was talking about at Royal Adelaide and the putting championship trophy being lifted.
Oh, you got me. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just didn't quite live up to the hype of that. But
Go on. Normally get him in for a Sophie Star, so give him a little bit of love.
well, no, my partner Darcy lifted up the putting trophy at Royal Adelaide. I was on the veranda having a soup and a nice latte watching it. And it's actually, to be fair, it was more intense than the Open. It's deadpan quiet with a bunch of people on the veranda watching these people have a putting match play putt off. But I got to give Andrew Tierney a shout out. His putting was absolutely outstanding. And I thought Darcy had no business winning that putting competition, but he boxed a few late ones and it's the only thing that got him into it. But I'll tell you what, it was cutthroat out there. They weren't even giving foot-long putts. They were making everything drop to the hole. Hilarious scenes, Hooky. But yeah, congratulations to Darcy O'Neill.
Righto. Well, and I tell you what, we've got a massive show planned because not only are we going to be talking about the Open Champion, not only have we recognised your partner, Darcy O'Neill, taking out the putting championship, but our great friend of this show, Raegan Denton, has just won the Northwest Pacific Women's Amateur, and we've got her coming up later in the show as well.
Yeah, very excited to hear from Raegan. I've sent so many messages to her in the last few weeks because she's just been having such an outstanding US season. But this was just the icing on the cake. And I know she's now in Canada. She's just going everywhere. It's pretty hard to keep up at the moment, Hooky.
So that's something to listen out for later on in the show. But first of all, Soph, Ryan Fox of New Zealand, the 39-year-old, has taken out the 154th Open Championship. Not only is it his first major win, it's his first top 10 at 28 attempts in a major. You've got a little bit of a bleary-eyed look about you, Soph, so I know that you sat up all night and watched it through, whereas I did the other way and got up early and watched it on Rewind. But just tell us a little about your first thoughts, Ryan Fox, the Open champion.
Well, first of all, is that your way of telling me I look absolutely terrible and I look like I haven't had any sleep?
We've had this discussion before. In fact, it makes our intro just everyone telling you look like crap.
Well, no, it was unbelievable. That final six stretch from Ryan Fox was just insane. I loved watching every single moment. And it's exactly what you want from the Open as well. He had unlucky bounces mixed in there. I mean, the one on the 15th par 3 when he's almost just got over that bunker and would have had about 6-10 feet for a birdie opportunity, hitting the lip and then having to chip out sideways and not even hesitating. There wasn't a club throw. There wasn't a head drop. It was just a classic, yep, that's what happens at the Open. That's what happens on these length-based courses. It's a matter of inches, and this one just didn't go my way. I'll chip out, I'll make my bogey, and I'll walk off to the next. And then even on 17, he took an iron off the tee to try and get out of this bunker that was sitting right there because he didn't want to take driver. And he's just rolled in. And even then he's got like this, abbreviated swing that he has to hit. But the same thing, his persona the whole time was so cool, calm and collected that I was shocked when I heard him in his final interview talk about how nervous he was on the 18th tee because he looked as cool as a cucumber and one of the fastest players I've ever watched play golf. I think the commentation, Sam Burns dropped his little par putt in from about 2 feet, and then within 22 seconds, the winning putt had dropped. And I think the commentation was just shocked, shell-shocked. The cameras were in a flurry. They were thinking, oh my God, it's happening. It might be the winning putt. We have no idea what's happening. He's just going ahead and doing it. But it was unbelievable. It was such a cherished moment. It always brings a tear to my eye when this trophy is lifted up. To see the caddy's response as well, the quick drop to the knee, his hands in his head. I don't even think he believed it, but letting Ryan have that moment as well and not running up to him to get straight in the winning photo and let Ryan actually sink it in. And I don't even still think that Ryan sunk this in. I mean, he was a rookie on the DP World Tour at the age of 30. At 37, he was a rookie on the PGA Tour, and at 39, he's a major winner. That is just, it comes when it comes. It's older and it's further into his life than most major winners, but it's an absolute outstanding achievement and loved by everyone, I think. I think everyone was excited to see Ryan Fox lift that trophy.
Yeah, never really played the game until he was about 16, 17 years of age. Didn't turn professional till he was 25, and a PGA Tour rookie at age 37. So the stories are quite incredible. He's a third-generation elite athlete. His granddad played Test cricket for New Zealand. His father played international rugby for New Zealand and was part of their 1987 Rugby World Cup triumph. The thing that really stood out to me, Soph, and you've identified it already, but he's gone birdie, par, birdie, finish, and the par was on the 17th, which you said where he found, unfortunately, that fairway bunker off the tee. But it just sort of reminds me of victories like, Jack Nicklaus in 1986, who went birdie, birdie, or he went birdie, 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 par to finish. And everyone else was sort of falling by the wayside alongside of him while he just held his nerve. So if you go back to 86, Seve Ballesteros hits it in the water. Greg Norman makes a mess of 18. And I really felt like that's kind of what happened in this event. All of these big names just made small mistakes when it mattered. Scotty Scheffler bogeyed the last. Now he's probably out of the tournament anyway. Cameron Young made a mess of the last. A couple of mistakes from Sam Burns going down the stretch. And Ryan Fox just continually held his nerve. And I loved his attitude as well, which was, I'm going to try and win it on 18. I'm not just going to try and limp in and get into a playoff. And if I stuff it up, then I'll live with the consequences. And I just love that attitude.
Yeah, well, I was watching Sam Burns a lot, obviously everyone was, and he shot the 2 over and it would have been incredibly disappointing. But I think the thing that stood out to me is Sam Burns was hitting, shots slightly offline and was getting punished, but it was immediately drop of the head, immediately a club slam. And to compare that to Ryan Fox, who was equally getting some bad luck and some bad breaks, I just thought, well, that's a champion for you because he's just not letting it get to him. Whilst you could see Burns just in his body language, it was getting to him and he was trying to push it too much, and that was forcing some errors onto him. So I think it was a lesson to be learned when you're out there playing golf. If you can try and keep a bit cool, calm, and collected, and you know what, it is golf. We're out in the elements. It means little things are going to happen and things aren't going to go your way. And it looked like Ryan was trying to win that tournament on 18, and he said that's what he was trying to do. But it also looked like Ryan kind of had that what will be will be. I can only control what I can control. And at the moment, I'm just trying to hit 3 good shots. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And that's kind of the persona that he let out. And it was the complete opposite to Sam Burns, his playing partner, who was right next to him.
Yeah, and a couple of the big names as well. Scheffler, I think it was on 4 or 5, so this is pretty early on in the tournament, off the in the front 9, of course, where he hit an approach into the par 3 4th, I think it is, where he found the left bunker, short-sighted himself. He played a wonderful shot out and got it up and down, but he said, how does that happen? How does that go there? I hit the perfect shot. And just that little negative attitude towards, I've been unlucky here, I'm getting a bad break, oh, woe is me. I think the one thing that Ryan Fox didn't do that pretty much all of the field did was that they sort of had a bit of an axe to grind with the event and the course and the rules officials, and we're going to get into that as well, of course. But that was, you've identified it really well. The one thing Ryan Fox never let get the better of him was the potential for bad breaks that you can often get on links golf.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like I said, that's what exactly stood out for me watching Ryan Fox play is he knew it was on a links course and it was incredible. He's a very much deserving winner. And I actually can't wait to see some of those celebrations. I know New Zealanders across from the pond can often have just as good a celebrations as the Aussies. And I think the Aussies are almost using this as a win for them too. I think it's quite funny. Australians are even just as excited for a New Zealander win as they are potentially for an Australian win. I think we count each other as one of each other's own.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to come at that one, Soph. I am reminded of the Andrew Denton song, it doesn't matter where we finish in the Olympics so long as we beat New Zealand.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
no, it is great. You can just see that he's a ripping bloke as well. He's, yeah, as you said, just loves the game, plays it the right way, gets on with it, doesn't get grumpy with himself or the conditions. So I think he's an admirable victor, and we're very pleased from afar that a New Zealander just down the road has won this tournament. Let's touch on the Aussies, Soph. Lucas Herbert, first of all. An incredible round two, shot a 62 with a bogey on the last. It was that close, just a hair's breadth from being the best ever score in a major championship. What did you make of his week?
Oh, well, I mean, that round two was impeccable. It was outstanding golf. And like you said, it actually looked like it could have been a 60-59. The way he was striking the ball was absolutely magnificent. But look, the weekend, it's just super disappointing, isn't it? He couldn't hit that driver anywhere. It was going left, it was going right. He looked incredibly frustrated. And he just, it was just a bit of a disappointing weekend, and kind of proves what we've been talking about live players and not really knowing how to cope with the pressure of major tournaments and not just Mickey Mouse courses, which is predominantly what they play on the live tour. So it does make me kind of feel a little bit justified. And I think the disappointing thing is when Lucas Herbert was leading after round two, at no point did I think he was going to win the tournament, which is a bit of a shame. And it kind of just proved exactly what we've all been saying and what we've been thinking on this podcast is Liv just isn't quite preparing these players for major tournaments. And yes, Bryson won a US Open and there are some exceptions to that rule, but generally speaking, all the Liv players at the Open just didn't quite have it, couldn't quite hack it, couldn't quite deal with those bad breaks, those longer clubs, a few more decision making off the tee.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. After his 62 on Friday, he went 71-71 Saturday and Sunday. Still finishes in a tie for sixth. It's a fantastic week for him. He should be really proud. But when you get those opportunities to win, you want to take them as best as you possibly can. Minwoo Lee. So if we just touch on Minwoo, again, got himself in contention and then really sort of, certainly on day one, but then really threw it away after that. He finishes in a tie for 59. He was 2 over the card for the week. He finished with an even past 70 today.
Yeah, I feel like I was just going to let you have this one, Hooky. Normally it's you who want to talks about Minwoo Lee, but it's another kind of disappointing. He's the one that we really want to see, compete at this level. He's the kind of golden boy that we thought would be the next kind of Cam Smith, and he's just not quite getting to that mark. His course management is just not where it needs to be. He wants to pull driver everywhere. He's not really playing for those misses. It's a bit potentially just getting too used to American golf, and just not quite competing at that high standard where he needs to be placed.
He's a tour golfer, not a championship golfer, and I'm going to stand by that until he proves otherwise to me. Had 0 rounds under par for the week, Soph. So I think that probably just underlines where his game is at, when he can hit it all over the ballpark, when there's no rough to speak of, when he can hit it where you like. He's always going to be a threat because he's got that sort of a game. But, yeah, major tests just aren't for him at the moment. Cameron Smith.
Oh, well, I picked him and I knew I shouldn't have picked him as my Aussie leader. It was just incredibly disappointing. Another disappointing major for Cam Smith. He's just not the player that he was, and it's so devastating because he's still young and he's still got so much more golf that he could be having. He's got so much skill level around those greens. It's unbelievable, and I was excited to see it come out at this tournament, and it just didn't. So Cam Smith, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about him, Hooky. I don't even think the PGA Tour at this point would want him if Liv goes away. It's just a really disappointing tournament for someone who showed so much promise after winning the Open at St Andrews.
Yeah, so he shoots 73 on day one and 69 on day two. So he only played the par fives twice. but he hasn't birdied any of them. And, they are generally regarded as your scoring holes. Just couldn't get anything going in particular on day two. He had, for the final 10 holes, he was 1 over. And in an environment where he'd shot 73 on day one, that just wasn't going to get it done on day two. And it's another poor majors year for him. And as you've identified, he's really heading towards irrelevance in international golf. His exemptions are going to run out. I think, does he have one more year to go? Yeah, he does. He's got one more year to go. So he's running out of opportunities to sort of recreate a niche for himself in the sport. Otherwise, once these majors run out, we don't know where Liv's going to be at next year, but he's going to be fighting for playing opportunities shortly, and that's a real concern. Adam Scott, what did you make of his week? I thought he was excellent. Let me just find a number of where he finished, because he certainly played tremendously in the final round, shot a 4 under 66 to finish at 5 under in a tie for ninth.
I mean, Scott's career is just unbelievable. He's kind of one of those people that is always still sitting around that mark. And I mean, if he was to lift a trophy, I would still be surprised, but I wouldn't at the same time, because he does just keep hanging in there, keep floating around. And for his age, it's just incredible. He's continuing to work on his game. He's not stopping. He's kind of like that Justin Rose caliber, where I don't see any of them going away anytime soon, which is remarkable when you're hitting your 40s. That's just insane to still be sticking there, to still have the same fight. I think he steps onto that tee at Royal Birkdale and goes, I'm here to compete and I'm here to win that trophy. I'm not here just to make a number and just to make the cut. And that's exactly how Adam Scott played.
Cameron John, a great story. He got into this tournament on the strength of finish second at the Singapore Open, which is an Open Championship qualifier event. He had a wonderful season on the Australasian PGA Tour as well, Soph. He's done remarkably well. He did finish in a tie for 28th. He was tied for 19th after round 3. He was 2 over 72 in his final round to finish at 2 under in that tie for 28th, alongside some big names in golf: Shane Lowry, Max Homer, Bob McIntyre, Brooks Koepka, Patrick Cantlay, some stars of the game that he's finished alongside. So in his debut major, I think he should be very, very proud. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I stand right by your side. I think that's incredible for a debut. I mean, making the cut on your debut is an achievement in its own, I think, particularly when you're seeing such big names missing the cut and not competing at all. It must be so terrifying standing on that first tee. I hate to imagine what it feels like. So an incredible, outstanding performance from him.
Yeah, so the third placed Australian, but he has done extraordinarily well. I'm not actually super surprised, Soph, because I had a look at where his wins have come on the Australasian Tour. He's won twice at the National and he's won the Vic Open. And all of those courses, not completely dissimilar to what you were going to expect at Birkdale. Windswept, going to get some runoffs, going to get some bad breaks. And the fact that he handled those conditions as well as he did, not a super surprise to me, but at the same time, very, very impressive with all of the nerves surrounding a debut Open to perform like that. Travis Smythe, again, missed the cut. Thought his first round was okay. His second round really just didn't get anything going.
Yeah, a bit disappointing for Smythe. But I mean, there's a lot to learn from it as well, though. So it's not, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not someone that I expected to be right up the top of that ladder, but I was really hoping he would get the cut because he's coming in with such good form.
Jason Day also missed the cut with a 71 second round, 73 to open. So it really was never a factor.
No, we're the complete opposite to Adam Scott, really, with Jason Day. Unfortunately, I kind of look at them and put them in the bracket because they're coming from a very similar era. And Jason Day's just not quite sticking in it. And it's really disappointing to see, considering he had such an outstanding career in his late 20s, early 30s. And Adam Scott is the complete opposite. And I'm almost feeling like, like I said, he could be lifting a trophy anytime soon. But I don't see Jason Day competing at that level anymore.
We might turn our attention to what was the biggest story outside of the winner for the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale, and that was the two-shot penalty that was issued to Bryson DeChambeau at the end of the second round. He was judged to have improved I think his swing, wasn't it, was it improved his swing to be able to play his second shot. He'd hit it deep into thick rough in a hazard on the fifth hole. So the ball was dry. It was a penalty area, but he stepped around quite significantly, trampled down a lot of the grass in the opinion of the R&A, which gave him the potential for an improved swing, and he was penalised 2 strokes for it. He protested that very, very earnestly, if you like. First of all, Soph, did you think it was a penalty?
Yeah, I think it did. Look, intent doesn't come into play, and I think that's what everyone keeps saying. Is we're not saying that. I'm not saying Bryson intentionally, improved his lie, but it's pretty clear he stepped completely on those weeds and swept them almost the opposite way, and then he had a clearer backswing to be able to, albeit still hack out, but it doesn't matter if it's not heading towards the hole. It's just whatever swing you're about to hit. So, I mean, it was like an elephant behind there. He stepped on it multiple times, and I think it's pretty clear that he did improve his lie. So look, I think the penalty was justified. I do think at the same time as well, I'm probably going to be a bit controversial with this, but he does have grounds to say he did otherwise and to defend what he did. Should have he taken as long as he did to defend that, and should have, held up the field, getting out all those tee times? No. I think as soon as the decision was made, he should have had, a retaliation. And as soon as they said, no, we stand by it, he should have just accepted the punishment. And he definitely shouldn't have walked off the course saying, well, I'm not playing tomorrow. That's a real, throwing the toys out the cot kind of behaviour. And I really do not stand by that. He was still only, 2 or 3 shots behind the lead and still very much in this tournament.
I'm just interested in a couple of your thoughts to a couple of reactions. Russell Henley, the first one, who essentially said Bryson's at a disadvantage because he's always on TV. He gets the big galleries, he gets the TV crowds, and therefore it's unfair that he is assessed these sorts of penalties because he's on TV, whereas another player who's not as big a name, those things might not be picked up by the TV cameras. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, tough luck. I'm sorry you're such a good player and you've got cameras on you. It's an absolute privilege to have those kind of attention and those cameras on you. And I don't think it's just because he's Bryson DeChambeau. He was also having a good round and was looking like he was going to shoot up that leaderboard. So, that happens with a lot of other players. But also in this day and age and the amount of spectators that are out there, everyone's got their phones out and everyone is looking. So people are getting penalised. People have spectators now calling up to the newsrooms and saying, look, I saw this happen and he didn't call it on himself. So I get what he's saying, but I mean, tough luck. That's what you get. And you should actually be honoured to have that camera attention that comes with sponsorship deals, that comes with money. So, I mean, I have absolutely no sympathy for that whatsoever.
And the alternative is, okay, well, if we're not going to worry about what the television cameras see, no one could ever get picked up because there's always going to be a lack of an equivalence there. And you'll end up with a situation where we'll only be relying on players calling penalties on themselves. And that just isn't going to work anymore because I think we've seen enough evidence from professional golfers that whatever fair or foul means they can take advantage of, there are too many of them. Maybe our winner aside, and maybe the winner of the, maybe Aaron Rye, someone like that aside as well. We've had some nice blokes who've won this year, mixed in with one who maybe has a bit of a history of a few other sort of behavioural attitudes. But I do feel like you can't take Russell Henley's words seriously when you know that the alternative is let players work it out for themselves, and that just that's no longer viable. I do feel, I tell you what else I want to ask you about, because I know you're a big fan of his. What did you make of Rory McIlroy's comments the day after, which sort of inflamed the dislike between the two and really sort of threw him under the bus a little bit with his attitude towards it? What did you make of Rory's words?
Look, I love listening to it. I think it's quite funny to listen to, and it does give the media a chance to jump on board. And I do like when players are a bit more earnest and say what they're actually thinking. But in this stage, I don't think he needed to add. I think, actually saying what he thought and saying, I think it is a penalty and I think that was justified is enough. I don't think he then needed to go that step further and say, I'm not very fond of Bryson, I think we could have just cut off the quote from there and, your own attitude towards another person doesn't really need to be vocalized. And whether or not his fondness of Bryson is justified or not, I think that quote just went a little step too far. But look, entertaining to listen to. I don't think Bryson's a fan of Rory, and I think it's very common knowledge after watching Rory's first Masters win, and the two of them didn't talk at all. And in fact, it was quite clear that Rory didn't want anything to do with Bryson. But yeah, look, the quote, I think you don't ever need to comment on your own personal opinion about someone's personality or what you actually think of them. I do like his position, though, in actually saying, look, it was a penalty. And he almost threw some other players under the bus because he did say other players were were watching the coverage back in the clubhouse, and there was a general consensus that it should have been a penalty. So all of those comments I do stand by, but the comment of saying I'm not fond of him, Rory, I think we can just leave that to the side, and you don't really need to add fuel to the flame sometimes.
It was kind of irrelevant to the debate, wasn't it? Either you
Yep.
think it was a penalty or
It's
it
not.
wasn't. You can't make a decision based on the fact that you're not fond of him. That was, in particular for Rory, who I think's a pretty intelligent and articulate speaker, to have a day to work out what he was going to say and then blurt out stuff like that, I thought was unfortunate. A bit of a miss from Rory, but certainly not as big a miss as the way Bryson DeChambeau handled himself. It's a shame because he's such a wonderful player. He's interesting. He's unconventional. He does things differently. It was fascinating to watch him hitting balls until well into the night. He is someone who, in his own way, puts more into the game of golf than maybe anyone else out there as a professional player. But then you get these performative, these childish reactions to what was, I think most of us who are rational and, in the middle here think was probably a pretty fair penalty. No one's saying he did it deliberately. Some people are saying he did it deliberately, but certainly the rules officials were determined to say it was inadvertent, but inadvertent doesn't matter. It's funny, I've just got the replay of live on the TV out of shot here, Sophie, and guess what they're replaying? We're finished with Ryan Fox. We're back to Bryson on day 2. So, yeah, he's always going to be someone that will be engaging, whether you like or dislike Bryson. He's just fascinating to watch in the game of golf, and yeah, where it ends up in 12 months' time if Liv does dissipate. And I was interested in what Eamon Lynch said at the end of day 2, which was you can understand why the PGA Tour would want him back, but you could also understand in that moment why a lot of the people on the tour would say, not sure that he's worth the hassle.
Well, I think the behavior after it as well, and all the clips that are coming out with, him tiptoeing around the rough as soon as he starts to approach his ball, and that kind of childish behavior just doesn't sit right with me. You got a penalty, deal with it, cop it on the chin. Even if you don't agree with the penalty, it is what it is, move on. And we don't need to then be making this massive big scene about it and, commenting to the spectators about it, because it's just, well, it's not a good look for children who are watching this. People get punished, and you get punished for doing things you don't necessarily agree with sometimes, but it is within the rules of the game. You have to accept those penalties every now and then, and you can voice after the fact, which is exactly what Bryson did, saying, I don't agree with it, but after that, you do just have to move on. It's only 2 strokes and you still win this tournament, and I actually think exactly what happened on the weekend where he kind of fell away, I'm not at all surprised because he was still way too focused on this 2-stroke penalty that he didn't agree with.
Shot 2 over for the day on Sunday, so drops back into a tie for 14th at 4 under. So really did kick himself out of the tournament after being right in it, even at the end of day 3. Just get your thoughts on a couple of the biggest disappointments. I've got a couple of mine. You're welcome to talk about them if you like. Jordan Spieth, for me, undoubtedly the biggest disappointment. So the last time this tournament was at Royal Birkdale, he won it in the most outrageous of circumstances. But oh, my goodness. What are we going to say? He's finished almost dead last. He shot, 77, 73, so 150 strokes for the 2 rounds that he played. I noticed that on the 7th on day 2, he 3-putted from inside 4 feet. Now, that's 20 handicapper stuff. And these greens, yes, 7 is a new green, and so there's a bit more to it than a few other holes, but Jordan Spieth, if it wasn't for sponsor exemptions, his career would be on the KFT Tour by now, wouldn't it?
Look, that's fairly harsh, but it's not pretty to look at the moment. And I think with the new structure that the PGA is looking at, Jordan Spieth is someone that we might not see as much as we would like. I think it's someone who's going to struggle to make, the top how many players they want to be in those events, and particularly once sponsorships go. I agree with you there, but you know what, Hooky, I really like Jordan Spieth, so I don't want to say any of that because I do love watching him play golf. He's entertaining as all, but his game for the past, 3 to 5 years has been anything but disappointing.
Wyndham Clark, I thought was another one was disappointing. So takes the US Open only a month ago, missed the cut. He had consecutive double bogeys on the front nine in the second round. It's almost like for someone who seemed to be very stoic in the way he played at Shinnecock Hills, it felt like this course got the better of him this time around, and he kind of threw the toys out the cot, which is something you've identified early. We saw from a lot of players. Your thoughts on Wyndham?
I don't have much more to add on Wyndham. I'm not going to lie. I look at Wyndham and I just see an American golfer who's used to American golf courses. And once we put him on a links course, he doesn't really have that imagination that I like to see. He's, bomb and gouge kind of golfer. I'm not, he's still an incredible golfer, incredible skills, way beyond my level, but he's not one of those players that I ever really see lifting a trophy. Now, I've said that. He's going to completely prove me wrong in the next 5 years. But, he's not someone that I look at like a Shane Lowry that has those hands and those magician hands. Or, to be fair, even a Jordan Spieth back in the day was just so talented at seeing things that other players weren't seeing and using the slopes of the green and, coming up with all sorts of different shot shapes. Those lower approaches, those lofted approaches. Wyndham for me is just someone who knows how to play a certain way of golf very, very well to a very good standard, but you put him in a different environment and his game just doesn't adapt to it as easily.
Yeah, it's 2 US Opens, and I agree with you. It's sort of hard to believe that he is a bit one-dimensional, isn't he? If it's not a big high slice, then a big high cut, then it's sort of hard to see where he's going to be super successful. I just put it this way: I don't think we'll ever see him win the Masters. I'm happy to rule him out there. Hey, Tommy Fleetwood, what are your thoughts on his week?
Oh, well, that's another thing that brought tears to my eyes when seeing Tommy Fleetwood come down 18, and he birdied 18 as well, just like Ryan Fox. I think there was only 5 birdies on the final hole for the final day. But, I mean, an incredible effort, to be honest. There was a lot of pressure on Tommy. There was a lot of spectators out there watching him. I thought he handled himself throughout the entire tournament with so much grace. It was ridiculous. His interviews were all incredible. He was very focused on, he's very happy with his career. Obviously, he would want a major, but this isn't the be-all or end-all for him. Though I know he would have desperately wanted to lift up that trophy, but he was incredible, and watching him come down the 18th and the reception that he received and just letting himself soak it all in. I actually think Tommy had more tears than what Ryan Fox did. Put his hand on his heart and appreciated the crowd. What he fell 3 short in the end, but I mean, that's an incredible effort. I really, really do hope I see Tommy Fleetwood with a major. He's getting older and it's getting less and less likely. There's more players coming out with extreme talents. It's unbelievable. It's kind of hard to pick a winner at the moment once Scotty Scheffler's not in the, nowhere near the leaderboard, but it was incredible. And it's actually something that I really loved watching. I loved watching Tommy this week. I thought his composure throughout the whole tournament was incredible to see. And he's actually someone that I always think people should go and watch his game because he's not someone who loses it when he gets a bad break. And in fact, he stays completely steady the whole time. And also, even on 18, knowing that he wasn't going to lift that trophy, he still wanted that birdie as bad as anyone. And he still wanted to climb that leaderboard as high as he could. And he didn't let it go. He didn't just go, I'm not going to lift the trophy today and I don't care anymore.
We've already touched on him. Rory McIlroy finished in a tie for 40th, a 1 over 71 today. Thought it was interesting that the 2 holes that Ryan Fox birdied, 16 and 18, he played them in 3 over to round out his week. What did you make of Rory McIlroy?
Yeah, it wasn't a good week for him. Maybe a bit too focused on Bryson and making some comments about Bryson instead of focusing on his own game. I am a little bit worried about Rory. He's obviously being very selective in what tournaments he plays in now. He's not playing all the signature events. It's kind of the same argument you could almost use for the live players, which maybe he's just not getting enough reps out there. He didn't look good at the Scottish Open, in my opinion. And I didn't actually think he looked that great for the Open leading into it or even during the tournament. I don't know. I think he needs to do some rethinking around his schedule. He just doesn't seem in it. He doesn't seem like he really wants it at the moment.
He seemed a little off, his Tucker, I thought. Just too many fairly simple mistakes. Missing greens with wedges that when you're really dialed in, when you're match hardened, you wouldn't see from someone the quality of Rory. Just to wrap it up, so Scotty Scheffler shot a 3 under 67 today. So he sort of built all the way through the week. He finishes in a tie for fourth.
Yeah, Scheffler's one of those ones that, he obviously missed the cut at the Scottish Open and didn't quite have his A game. Probably not even his B game. It looked like a bit of his C game. But, I mean, it's showing why he's world number one because even with his C game, he's still kind of sticking around that mark and still showing that he can still play some solid golf. But at no point did I really think, it was the dog that we see in Scotty when he is playing at his best. And it kind of looks like no one can ever beat him. Today and throughout the whole of the tournament, it just looked like Scotty was there, but he was always still going to be somewhere around that mark and he was still going to grunt out a good score.
What are your thoughts on Royal Birkdale as an all-round major championship challenge?
Yeah, I thought it was incredible. I mean, it developed the finish that we wanted. I think the Friday and the Saturday was some of the best golf that I've ever seen. I loved every moment of it. A few 62s, a few absolute blow-ups, which is always what you want. It was firm. It was fast. The greens probably weren't as firm as I wanted to see them. I think they were preparing for some serious wind that they never got. And that is one thing that I will say was a bit disappointing. It was kind of just like a puff of the breeze all afternoon, which somewhere like Royal Birkdale, you want to see some real swirling winds, particularly with the way that their course lays out. Like 14 and 17 are the two par fives on that back nine, and they go completely the opposite way, which normally, if you have the win that they're expected to get over there, it makes some really fascinating holes to watch and the strategy that the players get to choose. With the rough burnout that we spoke about in the lead up, man, they could just hit driver and they were getting some bounces out of the rough into the middle of the fairways, which they wouldn't normally get. They could generate spin out of the rough, which is why I like the Open, is often when they go into the rough, it's not like American golfers where it's that thick rough that all you've got is a lob wedge. It's rough that you can still advance the ball and get onto the green somehow, but you have to be creative because you're not quite sure how the ball is going to react. You're not going to get the spin. You're playing different clubs, playing different shots. And unfortunately, I felt like this tournament, maybe more on the Sunday, but definitely, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we just didn't quite get that. They still could generate a lot of spin out of the rough.
Beauty of this week, Soph, and you've probably identified it, but there was 3 62s shot this week. There's only ever been previously 5 in Open Championship history, and here we have another 3 just this week. But the winning score was 10 under. So you could play good golf and you could score, but at the same time, if you're a little bit off, if you made small mistakes, you were capable of incurring some pretty serious punishment. And I think that just weighed things up really nicely. And I thought it was an excellent tournament. We had an excellent winner. We had a great field. We had a great Sunday down the stretch. It was enjoyable to watch. It was fascinating. There were some great low scores. There were some really tough moments. And then we had maybe the biggest controversy in golf in 15 or 20 years with the Bryson DeChambeau ruling as well. Rated out of 10.
Sitting at about a 7 for me. Hooky is probably not up there with one of my favourite Opens, but you're dead right. Coming down the stretch, that last 6 holes, you couldn't really quite pick the winner and who was going to hold in there. You had some big players dropping off, which I always like seeing. You had some players trying to make that late little charge. I think it's probably a 7. How about you?
Yeah, maybe an 8. I was really worried about it going into the last day because I thought, this is just 362s worried me, but I thought the conditions of the course all came together on the final day, and it's very, very difficult to get the condition of the course how you want for all 4 days because if you set it up really, really difficult and fast and furious on day one, you've got 156 players you're trying to get through on a 1T start, and you could potentially lose the course with how dry it was by day 4. So, yeah, you might make the argument that the greens were a little bit softer and a little bit more receptive, even on day 4, but the wind was up by the end of day 4. It was tough. You look at the scores, only Cameron Young with his 6 under 64, and he'd started a couple of hours before the last group. So I think they walk a knife edge with these sorts of things. They were probably just on the conservative side of it, but in the end, I think it's been a really great event, and I've got to say I thoroughly enjoyed it. Tell you what else I thoroughly enjoyed was your wrap of it, Soph. Always appreciate your expertise and insight. What we're going to do, we're going to take a short break, and on the other side, we're going to catch up with Adelaide's own Raegan Denton, who has just this weekend won the Pacific Northwest Women's Amateur. We'll be back in a sec. Well, there's been a heck of a lot more going on than the Open Championship in golf around the globe. The Pacific Northwest Amateur was in Oregon over the course of the last week. And in one of the great news stories for South Australian golf, our very own Raegan Denton has taken it out, not just as the stroke play medalist, but as the match play winner as well. We are incredibly proud of her, and we're incredibly lucky that she's been good enough to join us from all the way in Canada. Raegan Denton, welcome back and congratulations.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
A trophy. Just tell us all about the moment when you knew you had it done. It was a pretty comfortable final victory, but nonetheless, I'm sure there were plenty of nerves on those final few holes.
Absolutely. As you know, sort of we were talking about earlier, match play can sort of flip in an instant. But I was feeling pretty comfortable in my game. It was already quite a long day, so I was getting pretty tired. It was a 36-hole final, which I only found out the day before, so it was a bit of a shock. I was like, oh, okay, cool, 36 holes tomorrow, awesome. But got through the first 18 all square, so that felt a little pointless. Could have just played 118. But yeah, I was really happy with my game all week, and so I was feeling pretty comfortable. And once I sort of getting up, I just built more and more momentum, and I think I was just able to keep the pressure on my opponent really well. So I think I just sort of stuck to that, and obviously it worked out pretty well. So.
Well, you're actually the third Australian to win this event in a row. I know it went to Justice Bosio in 2024 and Jazzy Roberts in 2025. What is it about this event and Australians just dominating at the moment?
Who knows? It's honestly a weird one. This year was a bit of a smaller field compared to previous years, but it's honestly maybe we just have a lot of match play events in Australia already. Have a fair bit experience, but I mean, I'm happy to keep the tradition going. Hopefully someone can follow it up next year.
And let's talk about your matches, because it's a pretty incredible run. You got a bye in the round of 32 because there wasn't a full field of 32. In the round of 16, you absolutely dominated the poor kid who you took on there. But then from there, it wasn't easy, was it? So your quarterfinal, you played Yvonne Vincieri. You were down at the turn. Then I think you win 5 of 6 holes to get the win 3 and 2. You played Grace Rowe, a fellow Australian, in the semi-final. You're down at the turn, and you were 1 down after 19 in the final as well. So just take us through, from a mental perspective, Raegan, how you dealt with the fact that you were behind in matches. I think there was a period of time, did you lose the first 3 holes in one of your matches as well? So it was a struggle, I would suggest.
Yeah, I think in sort of all my matches, my opponents just came out really hot and started off really well. Wasn't really, I guess, a fault of mine, you could say. But I think I just always try and keep the mentality in match play that, you know, if I'm 1 or 2 down through 9 holes, I just have to have one shot better on one hole, and we're already back to square, and I have 9 opportunities to do so. So I think I just sort of try and keep that mentality, which definitely helps a lot. And, you know, from that, I was always sort of to build some momentum and put pressure back on my opponent, whether it was just continuously hitting fairways, putting it close for birdie looks. I think that always adds a bit of a factor back onto my opponent to not lose their lead, which I think can sometimes add a bit of a added pressure. But I think overall, I just sort of have a like no give up attitude. It isn't over till it's over in match play, and it can really change in an instant. So I think I just sort of tried to stay positive. And overall, I was always pretty happy with how I was playing anyway. So I think that was able to help me get through when I was down. So.
We were speaking about obviously in all your match play events, in the match play, you kind of came from being behind and you're saying it's kind of theirs to lose. Well, actually, after you finished the stroke round, you've lifted up the stroke trophy. You're the first qualifier. We spoke about it before we went on air. Normally, the first qualifier has a real knack of going out in round 32 or round 16. What is it like to try and reset yourself after having won the stroke round? And basically, it's a whole new tournament all over again. You're back to all square, and winning the stroke round, whilst it means something, doesn't mean something in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, you sort of just have to have the mentality that you're all sort of on the same playing field now. As much as the way that it's seeded has a little bit of an impact on sort of, I guess, if you're the number one seed, you have like an advantage, so to speak, because you're playing someone who didn't maybe play as well in the stroke play. But at the same time, you're now put on the same playing field. You're stepping on that first tee tied. So I think I was still just trying to stick to my game. Obviously the stroke play gave me a bit of confidence. I was getting very used to the course, and from there I was just able to sort of play my own game. I didn't let my opponents affect the way I played too much, which I think sometimes can and probably should happen in match play because it is the 1v1. But yeah, I think I just sort of tried to stick to my own game and sort of build on that confidence that I'd already built in the stroke play.
How has the reaction been from family and friends back home?
It's been great. Obviously, I got lots of messages from my family and friends, which is always really nice to hear, especially when I've been traveling for so long now. Just to hear from everyone again, it's a really great feeling, and that everyone's watching. I was having messages before I got back to the clubhouse from our pennant team. I was like, oh, cool. So it's just really good to know that I sort of have everyone following from home, and I think it's sort of giving me a little bit more strength to finish this trip strong. So.
Yeah, I think all back home, we're all refreshing the live scores, just waiting to see what the final result was. Particularly when you're coming down, it gives us all these little mini heart attacks. But I have to ask, you just finished the Curry Webb scholarship, and you've just had a week with Curry Webb, only 2 or 3 weeks ago, watching the KPMG. Did you get a message from Curry Webb? Has she been following you along?
I did. I did get a message from Kari. I've had a couple just from the last few weeks. I've been playing pretty well, so she's just sort of in my corner, which is really cool to see. Obviously a legend in the golf world, and to know that I have that support there is really awesome. She was very open about how, I'm able to message her or give her a call anytime that I need any help with anything, which is awesome. So I think that's just a really good feeling overall.
Hey, just tell us, you've been in the States for, best part of 2 months now, I think it is,
2 months,
Raegan, where
yeah.
we are obviously expecting that at some point you've got college ahead, but at some point you're going to turn professional, and this is going to be a part of it, the touring and the traveling and all of that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. How have you enjoyed this experience this time around?
I've really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely it's taught me a lot more than I probably expected it to. I thought that my trip last year was going to prepare me more than it did. I've been alone for a lot more of this trip, and it's just longer, which, the length of time is probably the biggest challenge. Living out of a suitcase for 3 months straight and meeting new people every week, and sometimes, you might have gotten a date wrong or a flight wrong or like whatever. So I think it's just learning to navigate these challenges. But I think it's all going to be super useful for my career ahead. Fortunately enough, I think college is going to handle most of the organization portion for me. But I'm really glad that I'm getting to have these experiences now, so that when the time comes and I do turn pro, I already have these experiences under my belt, and it's not something that I sort of have to try and navigate in my rookie year, which is obviously stressful enough as it is.
It does seem like you've been doing a fair bit of travel as well for the Australian girls. How much does it mean to have that kind of Australian camaraderie over there? I mean, we saw it at the LPGA, on the LPGA with Hannah Green, and they all kind of get behind each other. Is it the same in the amateur league as well? And is that really helpful?
Absolutely, yeah. For not the whole time I've been here, I think I was one of the first Aussies over here playing in the first few events. Most of them either were in the UK or just skipped on them. But for this sort of last month, I've been traveling with Ellis Gaysbrook. We've been staying together every week, and there's also been a bunch of other Aussies. So it's always great to be able to walk onto the putting green in the morning and see a familiar face that you've known for years, and actually hear the Australian accent again instead of the Americans. So it's just really refreshing, and I think it r- doesn't remind you, but it helps you feel like you're closer to home, even if you're not. It just sort of, it's like traveling with a piece of home in your suitcase. You know, they're always there to talk, and obviously they're doing the exact same thing you are. They're traveling for just as long. They're living out of a suitcase and living in hotels, so they sort of understand it. And I think we're all on that same level, which is really good. So it's a great support to have.
Talking about travelling and shifting around, you won this tournament in Oregon. You already moved on and talking to us from Canada. Just tell us exactly where you are and what's ahead.
So I'm in Toronto at the moment. So we've got the Canadian Women's Amateur not starting tomorrow, but the next day. Got a practice round tomorrow. It's at Toronto Golf Club, 4 rounds of stroke play. I'm really excited to get back into just a stroke play event, bit of switch things up. I've had 3 match play events in a row now, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, it's not as cold as I thought it would be here.
That could change before the end of the week, though, I suspect, Raegan.
Yeah, I shouldn't say anything too soon.
And just give us a bit of an overview. No doubt the highlight is going to be the US Women's Amateur, but just give us a bit of an overview of what you've got ahead of you until you return home.
Yeah, so obviously I've got this event, 4 rounds, and then I'll be back in Jacksonville for I think about 8 days. I've actually got Wiki coming over for I think 6 or 7 days, which I'm really looking forward to. Obviously, having gotten the chance to work with him super closely over this time, so I think that should be a really good timing before USM. Be able to do some good work before then, and then from there we'll I'll be in Tennessee for the USM, which is stroke play, then into top 64 for match play before I go home and then make my quick return for college.
Have you got Wiki on the bag for the USM?
Unfortunately not. He's got other obligations. I think he will be there, maybe might be leaving on the first round. But I will have a local caddy, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, either way, it's just I'm happy to have Wiki in any capacity.
Just before we wrap it up, the Open Championships only finished about 6 hours ago. Did you get an opportunity to take it in? Would have been very early your time, I suspect. Did you see much of it? And Ryan Fox, a New Zealander, so just over the ditch, the winner. What did you make of it?
Can't say I saw a whole lot. I was seeing a lot on Instagram about the whole Bryson debacle that I think stole some of the focus of the week. But I think even not getting to watch it, it's great to see I'd say a fellow New Zealander win. I think it was only like the second one of the event,
Yep.
which is really cool. So yeah, I think it's awesome. Didn't get to watch a lot of it though. I was sleeping.
Well, I have to ask, Rory had some frank words to say about Bryson. Do you think the 2-stroke penalty was fair?
I mean, whether it was intentional or not, I think Rory was right. You know, he does have a lot of eyes on him, so unfortunately not everyone can have that many eyes on them. I think it's just a bit of a flip a coin. Who knows? I think he could have stepped somewhere else, potentially. But I mean, I guess golf is golf, right? Sometimes it happens, sometimes these things. So it did improve his swing. Whether it was intentional or not, who knows?
Very
Well,
diplomatic answer.
And we're talking about all eyes on Bryson. I tell you what, from back home here, Raegan, all eyes are going to be on you over the next couple of weeks. We're looking forward to seeing how you perform not only at the Canadian Women's Amateur but also the US Women's Amateur. What an amazing couple of days it's been for you, not only lifting a trophy but getting a text message from Kari Webb and Sophie Hilditch all in one hit. That's pretty special, isn't it?
Absolutely. I skipped right past Kari's message, went straight to yours, Sophie. I was so excited.
Amazing. We're so proud, Raegan. Congratulations. All the very best for the next couple of weeks, and thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Rags.
Thank you.
Well, great chat there with Raegan Denton. Sophie, it's just, it's so amazing that you just have the capacity to flick her a message and suddenly she's on our show.
And more than willing to. I was like, don't do it if you don't have time. You've got another tournament to prepare for, and then I know you're going to the USM, but the fact that she's still willing to come and talk on Hooked on Sport with all this success that she's having, I'm so thrilled. But it's always good speaking to Raegan. She's an absolute beautiful girl, and I love all her insight. And she's not afraid to tell you how she was feeling or how she was going, which is what I love. She's very earnest, but also speaks so beautifully. So always a pleasure to speak to Raegan.
What she did tell us off air in between the finish of that interview and where we've started up here is that she's collected like a suitcase full of trophies that she doesn't know how she's going to get home. So Adrian Wickstein, if you're listening, before you leave to go and join Raegan over there when you catch up in Jacksonville, pack light, mate, because you might have a few trophies that you're going to have to bring back on Raegan's behalf.
I think she said 5 boxes. Which I'm just curious as to how big these boxes are. That's what I'm a bit rattled at. But anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing how she gets those trophies home. I'm sure it will be a story.
So to wrap things up, normally we do Mount Rushmore about now, and we're up to 4th holes around South Australia, but we're going to kick that one down the road to next week because we have spent so much time on the Open. We're way over time. But I did think it would be worth just playing one more game of Who Am I? To wrap us up. So, Sophie, I am going to take on the guys of a hole at a golf course within South Australia. I do like to just clarify that it's something that is relatively well known. So it's going to be something that you're going to be across or would have played before, or I would expect that you would have seen in some way, shape or form. And I've got around about 10 or 11 clues here, and let's see how quickly you can guess which hole I'm talking about. So here we go. Who am I? I am a par 4, 372 metres from the blue tees and 350 metres from the red tees. And I know you've got a pen now. You're starting to take some notes. This is how serious you're taking this game.
Well, last time you tricked me and I couldn't remember any of the clues.
That's right. I am the second hardest hole, or index 2, on the course for women. Clue number 3. I play off the tee down through a valley, then back up to a green at similar grade to the tee block. So a little bit downhill off the tee and back uphill again on approach.
Well, can I have a guess straight away?
You please can.
The 8th at Kyrongga?
It's an excellent guess, but not the right one.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Okay, but that's fine. You're welcome to have a go anytime. Feel free to jump in. Okay. Off the tee, a large bunker on the right of the fairway is a significant threat and definitely one to avoid. So big bunker on the right, slightly downhill, back up. But go too far left and a thick line of pine trees that separates me from the 9th fairway can mean a sideways chip out. Big bunker on the right, lots of trees on the left.
Pine trees.
Okay. Right of the bunker, there is more trees and out of bounds. So this plays along the boundary fence of this golf course with a road running all the way down the right-hand side. At the green, I boast 2 bunkers. Both are on the left side of the green. One directly on the left edge, and the other is around 5 metres short of the front edge. So it's pretty good golf course design, if you understand what I mean. If you go out to the left and avoid that bunker, then your uphill approach into the green sort of comes over the front of the first of those two bunkers on the left. The miss on approach is the right edge of the green and just off, where no real trouble lies. My green slopes steadily from back right down to front left.
Back right to front left. So there's a road running beside me. I've got
Yep.
pine trees.
You wouldn't really see it because of the trees.
There's
but it's
pine
there.
trees on the left, and there's
Yep.
a big bunker on the right that I'm trying to
Yep.
avoid off the tee.
Yep. I'll give you the next clue. I reckon you'll start to hone in on it here. I'm the first hole on the course.
Ah, is this? No, but you said it's a par 4.
It's a par
Oh, no.
4.
You're the first hole on the course, and you're running beside a road. Is this Blackwood first hole?
It is the Blackwood first hole, Sophie Hilditch. Congratulations.
That was terrible.
I could see the tension on your face as you worked through that.
I was like, what is this? Is there not? Is it only? I thought there was 3 bunkers on Blackwood on the left-hand side, but is there only 2?
2 big ones. So one right up against the edge of the
No.
green, and the other one, the back of the bunker is about 5-10 yards short of the front edge of the green.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I've got you. No. I can't believe that's taken me so long to pick that. It's probably because it's a great hole, but I hate starting on that hole. So I think I've just blocked it out of my mind forever and always. I actually, in my pennant match play, I was in that front bunker on the left that's like 10 meters off the green. And I think it's the best like par I've ever made in my life from that bunker.
Yeah, I tell you, I've played there a bit, not recently to be honest, but I have played there quite a bit going back 5-10 years ago, and that was a brutally tough start to any round. If I walked off with a bogey there, I was pretty relaxed about my world.
It's a fairly long par 4 as a starting shot, and to be fair, that having that main road onto your right hand side, I know I think you also threw me when you're like, you don't really notice it. I was like, it's like the one thing that I do notice when I'm standing on that tee. But you probably haven't played it off the red tees. The red tees are really close to those pine trees that line up the right hand side.
No, that is exactly right. So as a left-hander, and you're always thinking, I'm probably going to hit a squeezy little cut here, those trees are in play for me because I can often hit a tiny bit of a pull that's going to then cut around to the middle, but I can catch a bit of those. In fact, I'm sure I've done it at least once before off that tee, found those pines on the right and had my second shots from about 345 metres out.
Well, I have seen some of our star Sanderson players hit those trees off the red tees, and it is one of the most embarrassing things to ever do. You don't feel good about yourself remotely, and all you got to remind yourself is it's only one hole and it's the first hole of your match, and you've only got about 40 people watching you, so don't worry about it.
So anyway, I hope everyone's had fun taking on Sophie in Who Am I? And I reckon 1 or 2 might get that beforehand, but it'll be interesting to...
I think people should definitely I'm going to be disappointed in the listeners if they don't get that before me.
Great chat, as always. Thanks so much for all of your expertise and insight, in particular in the Open Championship. It was great to share that conversation with you and Raegan. Soph will do it all again next week.
Thanks so much, Hooky. Have a good one.
See you then.